In this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between a simp who is subscribed to OnlyFans and doesn't meet women in real life, and a pimp who gets dates, who gets laid, who actually has dating success. Look, if you're subscribed to OnlyFans, well, I want to apologize to you because that's unfortunate, because that is a huge waste of time and money. And secondly, the platform is going to stop having adult content in October, so that's not going to happen anyway. But look, meeting women in real life is something that has become unusual. Back in the day, the stigma was, look, you should just meet a girl at a bar and campus, party, meet a girl in real life. What is this online crap? What is this weird online crap? Now it's reverse. It's completely tilted the other way. Now, oh, you want to talk to a girl in person? You're a creep. Like there was that Gillette ad where a guy kind of like looks at a girl and he wants to approach her and they give him a creepy look and therefore he has to be stopped from talking to a girl. That's the status quo today. That talking to girls is weird. But the reality is, if you want to have a satisfying dating life, that's the way to do it, because economically, online has so much competition. It has so many simps. It has so many guys putting in money and time and energy into worshiping women. And you're competing on Tinder with mostly men. It's like 20% women if you include all the bots, because most of the women are bots on the platform anyway. 80% men, and the men swipe right on every platform. Then you've got, things like OnlyFans, where you're getting a virtual girlfriend that doesn't even care about you, and you're paying her money to not even get anything in the real world, which is even worse. Or you can meet girls in real life, and you can get a genuine physical, emotional connection with a woman, but only if you're willing to set your ego aside and not say, let's do what society is telling me to do. Let's do what society is telling me to do. Focus on my career, money, pay my way into getting laid, get Tinder, and pray that someday something's going to happen. No, the pimps who get laid, what they think is goal-oriented. They think, okay, I want women. I want to get women in my life sooner rather than later. How do I actually do that? What are the action steps I can take? Instead of thinking, how do I satisfy my sexual needs through OnlyFans? How do I halfway satisfy them and live in this haze, this miasma of kind of having women in my life? How do I get real women in my life now? And they're willing to do things that are societally considered the weird way to go about it. They don't care. They just care about what is going to get a result. That is the underlying difference. They're not romanticizing. They're not listening to society's narrative of what you're supposed to do, the correct way to go about it. They're thinking, okay, I want this. I want women in my life. How do I actually get it? And they're willing to set their ego aside, set their preconceived notions aside, and get granular, get goal-oriented. I'd say the single biggest difference between guys who learn about the idea of pickup or are interested in meeting women and who succeed and fail is the ones who fail are focused on romantic notions of true love, of this one girl that they already have a crush on, one-nightists that they really need to get her, and they're not thinking practical steps I can take. Their ego is too much in the way to think practical steps you can take. And look, if you have a crush with a girl at work, that's fine, but what are the practical steps you can take? Well, you ask her out, and if she says no, you move on. If she says yes, okay, well, you got her. Good job. But every day that you're not doing that is a day where you're not actually making any progress towards this particular goal of getting women in your life. And then when you get past that, or if you're not willing to do that, you're too afraid, then you think, okay, well, how do I get more options in dating? I could go approach women. I could download Tinder, get some really good pictures, learn about how to make my profile better, watch channels like Playing with Fire. That's one I would recommend. And learn about how to get online dating success if they want to do online dating. Personally, I think you get more opportunity with really attractive women in person because there's less competition. Most other men aren't willing to approach in person unless they're wasted, and then they approach very poorly. So, occasionally they'll get lucky and stumble into something, but it's not consistent. And even at a bar, like most of the guys aren't approaching. They're just hoping something will happen. I go to bars all the time. There's a few guys who do approach at bars. Most of them are just kind of standing around like hoping something happens. And maybe if they get really drunk or if their friend's talking to a girl and she has a friend, they'll help them out, but that's about it. That's the extent of the level of action they're willing to take. So they're very passive about it. And there isn't much competition in those kind of situations, in real life situations. And yes, you will get rejected if you go approach women, just like you'll get rejected on Tinder. It might hurt a little more when you get rejected, but guess what? The amount of women who are going to be available and they're going to be receptive to you is much higher because the lack of competition, because very few men are willing to do an approach in person. That means that the economics are in your favor. What other people are unwilling to do, therefore gives you more leverage. It's just like part of what grew my channel, in-field videos of myself actually approaching women. Most dating channels don't do that. They're unwilling to do that. And because I'm one of the few that do, that allows me to grow. It allows me to stand out. Same concept is whatever less people are doing has more power, it has more value. So approaching in real life, that's the first practical strategy difference. You can do online dating too, but if you're gonna do it, make it goal-oriented. Make a goal that I'm going to swipe for at least 5 minutes every day, and then I'm going to message at least 5 girls. I'm going to ask at least 1 girl out. Now, that all might sound not very romantic to make it goal-oriented, but guess what? If you make it goal-oriented, you're making it something that is a habit, that is consistent, that is repeatable, and that leads to progress. And that's what you want, is to get better, to get more matches, to get more dates, etc. And so you think, okay, well, I should set a goal. I should spend 5 minutes a day taking pictures of myself until I happen to get a really good picture, or also researching how to take good pictures and making some specific goals for how you're going to do it and follow through on those. Very few people are willing to do this, but that is what works. It feels unromantic. It feels emotionally stressful to do that, but that's what works. Like the guys at the gym who make progress, who get shredded, what do? They count their calories. They look into a particular diet that they're following. It could be any number of different diets, but they're generally following a particular diet. And they track their workouts. They almost always do those things, and the same is going to apply here. So if it's picking up women on Tinder, you want to make sure that you have goals for getting better pictures, for getting more matches, and making sure you follow through on your matches, because I've known plenty of guys who get matches on Tinder, but they don't follow through. They don't turn them into anything because they're just using Tinder as a way to get validation, to feel like they have options, but they don't make anything happen with it. And the same thing applies if you're going to be doing pickup in real person. Well, you have to have goals if you want to be sure that you're going to get consistent results and that you're going to get better over time. Now, these goals can be things like, I'm going to go out and try to approach women at least 3 times a week, and then you set a specific day. The more specific, the better. The more vague, the more likely you are to procrastinate. So if your goal is, I want to meet more women, that's super vague, probably not going to lead anything. If it's, I'm going to go out and approach women, it's a little better. If it's, I'm going to approach women 3 times a week, that's even better. If it's, I'm going to go out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and go out to meet women, that's better. And then you can make a goal to say, do it at least 30 minutes. The more specific you get, the better. Now, at first, if you're not used to approaching, it might be overwhelming, and saying you're going to do a specific amount of approaches might be too much. At first, maybe it's go out and try to approach, see what you can do. I have videos about how to build momentum, how to go if you can't approach, how to build momentum so that you can start approaching. My upcoming online course, which by the way, I know it has been delayed. That's because the face blurring for the infield has taken much longer than expected. But this product has tons of infield. It has multiple full-length pulls, which means me approaching a girl all the way to taking her home. One's even a threesome pull, 2 girls. And some of those videos are an hour and a half or even longer with the full breakdown. And so that has taken a long time to blur the faces, much more than I expected, but that's going to be coming out on Labor Day. So that means September 6th. So that's coming out in about 2 weeks. So mark your calendar. It's almost ready to be released. And that course has a 30-day challenge that helps you go from having approach anxiety, being unable to even talk to a girl, to getting to a point where you're getting girls and asking them on dates and maybe even pulling, getting measurable results. But you have to have some kind of goal to be going out and taking action and in the field, as opposed to just watching videos, because videos are great, but they're only really helping you if you're also putting yourself out there and learning from experience, because that's where the lessons get cemented and that's where the results come from. Obviously, just watching videos by itself isn't going to do you any good. Now, if you're already able to approach, then you can increase those goals to, say, do a certain amount of approaches, to make sure you ask a girl for her number every time you go out, things like that. This isn't the stuff of a fairy tale romance. That's true, but it is what works. And the difference between the simps on OnlyFans and the chads that actually get laid is they're focused on what gets real results. They're thinking how to get measurable results or progress, dates, whatever it is. Even if it's you just want one girlfriend, you want a wife, well, how do I get more options so that I can end up getting that? As opposed to, how do I feel good about myself? How do I make my emotions satisfied in the short term without getting anything in return? That's what OnlyFans is. That's what a relationship with an e-girl on Twitch, that's what that's doing. It's kind of satisfying a little bit of a dopamine kind of need, but it's not getting you what you genuinely want. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not someone who's going to say that getting into better shape, making more money, I'm not going to say those things don't help. They absolutely do help. Getting fit, getting better clothes, building a social circle, building status, all those things are definitely helpful, definitely beneficial, but those are long-term solutions. Those are things that'll help in the long term. Whereas you want to also think, how do I make progress right now? And that's where approaching comes in. So look, I advocate doing all those things, but do you really want to wait until all those things are in place in some hypothetical future moment that you're ready to start approaching? That generally doesn't work out because that turns into procrastination. That turns into just waiting for another excuse. I've had plenty of clients that they tell me, okay, well, now I make a lot of money, still haven't done anything. Now I got ripped. I got everything, every other area of my life handled. I'm shredded. I'm wealthy. Yet I'm not getting any girls. I thought that would kind of just make it solve itself. And I've had so many guys say, well, didn't quite work, so that's why I'm taking a boot camp with you. Yes, those things help, but they're supplemental. Actually talking to women, being proactive, that's always going to be a part of it. And if you're morbidly obese, yeah, I would prioritize losing weight as well. It's going to help a lot, but you would be surprised what you can make happen even when you have those disadvantages. You'd be surprised if you throw yourself out there enough. Some women, look, they might have a type that they're into morbidly obese guys, or they might like guys who are less attractive than themselves because it makes them feel better for whatever reason. It doesn't really matter. Or they're just really horny and they take anyone. Or your personality is just so charming that they kind of forget what you look like. I've heard a lot of women talk about how a guy seems unattractive at first, but then they start talking and they become attractive. Regardless, those things help, but they can turn into a recipe for procrastination. So I don't recommend completely focusing on those things. And also, you might be thinking, well, I don't have time to go to the gym, improve my career, and meet women. Look, dating, your social life, it's always going to be one of the core elements of a satisfying life. It's not the only one, but it's one of them. Just like being healthy, making decent money, having a purpose, all those things are always going to be important. And if you neglect any of them, if you neglect your fitness, well, you're going to start getting fat. You're not going to stay the same. You're going to start getting overweight. You're going to start getting unhealthy. If you neglect your finances, they're not going to stay the same. They're going to get worse. And the same goes for dating. So yes, there may be one of these that you need to focus on the most, and it may not be dating. But that doesn't mean you can't put a couple hours a week, a few hours a week into this in one way or another, whether it's Tinder, whether it's in person. You can still do that. You can still find the time, sacrifice a little bit of video games, sacrifice a little bit of TV, sacrifice a couple hours of sleep a week if you have to, there's nothing else because you're working 100 hours a week because you're some freak, probably aren't, but you can find the time to set goals for each of these areas where you're at least making some progress as opposed to going downhill, because it's not going to stay the same. It's going to get worse. Every year that you're not meeting women, every year that you're not improving your social skills, they're getting worse. They're not staying the same. Ultimately, if you want to succeed in any area of life, you do have to have a ruthless mindset. You do have to have a results-oriented mindset where you're willing to let go of temporary emotions, of fantasies, of, romantic ideas, and think about what is genuinely going to work. I don't care what other people think about it. What's going to work and get the result that I want. Don't think what is going to make me feel good about myself. Think what is going to get results? What result do I want, and what is going to get me there? What actions? And in this video, I've outlined a lot of those different things that you can do. Make sure that you're setting practical, realistic goals that you're following through on, because otherwise you're probably just going to go with your emotions, and your emotions are going to want to keep you inert, to conserve energy, to stop you from improving, because that is stressful at first. It takes you off your equilibrium, and we just feel this general unease about doing things that require energy that we weren't expending before. But if you want to win, that's how you do it. With that said, my online course, God Mode, is coming out September 6th, Labor Day. Look forward to that. It's going to have tons of content, probably the most infield of any course that has come out in many years. Multiple breakdowns of full infield pulls. That's something that you don't see a lot of at all these days. It also has a 30-day challenge to give you a template to make sure you're able to achieve your measurable goals, to make sure that you get better every single week, and that even if you can't approach right now, within the end of the 30 days, you're able to get dates with women by approaching them. And it has a lot more than that, but that's scratching the surface. I'll talk more about that in the future. If you enjoyed this video, check out my website for a lot more content.